the thing for now. So, you want to introduce yourselves to the funnygrownhere.com crowd?
Yeah, I'm Jim Infantino. I'm in a band called Jim's Big Ego. I'm the Jim of Jim's Big Ego.
And I'm Sean Peters. I am the interpreter in the Ego and the Oracle stage show.
So how long have you been doing the show? I think it's you put it on last year sometime. Was that the first one?
Oh no, it's been a few years now. The show originally was inspired by a radio show called Radio 8 Ball. It was in Olympia, Washington at the time. A genius named Andres Jones created the show where people would call in at night, called the Pop Oracle, and or called Radio 8 Ball, and he used the term Pop Oracle, and people would call in and ask a question, and then he would random on a CD player. So we did that show. The band went in through Olympia and did the show, and we thought it'd be great to do this on stage. So for a while, Andres was the interpreter, and we actually flew him back here to Boston, did a bunch of shows at Jimmy Tingle's downstairs.
And then when it got a little unwieldy to have your interpreter be 3,000 miles away, I was brought aboard. I had an improv background and knew the manager of the band and was a fan of the band. And then we did several more shows that summer, and then the show went dormant for almost 2 years.
Is that right?
I think it was 2 years, and people kept asking, when is it coming back? And during that time, the Jimmy Tingle Theater closed.
Right.
And so we realized that not every venue would be perfect for it. We like venues where the audience could have a drink and then have some fun with it. And since then we've done it here and a few at the Lizard Lounge, but almost exclusively here at the Burn.
Yeah. This seems to have the right mix of things. So, some food, some drink. Stage is sort of the right size, almost the right size. But yeah, it's like a fun place to do it. It just turns out we thought we'd need to go spooky, dimmer, but this is kind of a friendly environment.
Yeah, and we've kind of settled into going on runs where we do one show a month, usually the third or fourth Thursday of the month. And then we find that that's because the show's different every time. I mean, there's 30 songs on the wheel, and another 30 waiting to be put on the wheel. And so the show's different every time because of the questions and the songs. But giving people a month, generally it was enough. We're finding that it's enough time that people are ready to come back a month later, and it's been great.
Just to tell people the format, people come in the door, they write down a question, they put it in the box. They come up and read their question to the crowd, and then spin the wheel, which has all of the songs on it.
Yeah.
You play the song and then interpret how the song answers the question.
Did you want us to run through the?
Well, just running through.
That's exactly right. You said it much quicker than I ever do on stage.
The question is random. The song is random. The interpretation is.
Yeah, I mean, but we're very open to the fact that this is a subjective process. I mean, I'm a human being. I bring something different each night. Sometimes Jim will play the song a little different. A lot of your song has improvisation in it, and you'll throw in lyrics. And those lyrics very often can kind of turn the dial one way or another on a question, just by virtue of the fact that was where you were at when you sang it.
Well, also, a lot of the songs on the wheel are not songs we often play, so the song will go up and I'll I have to remember, it'll be like something out of the past, like tonight there was Love Everybody, which you haven't played in 3 years or something like that, so you really have to kind of, so it's very possible that I'll just get the lyrics wrong, what's work with that.
And the audience, I mean, obviously the audience asks the questions, so that's a big piece of it. But the audience's mood affects stuff.
Yeah.
If the audience, I mean, if we get a lot of groups, and this is a good show to bring a bunch of friends with because one person gets called up and the other 5 get to mock them for the rest of the night. If the audience is in a rowdy mood, they want something funny, but sometimes we get a thoughtful audience. I think tonight we had a kind of a thoughtful audience.
Yeah.
And you know, like when the birthday girl from tonight asked the question, will I know what I'm looking for when it's right there in front of me?
Right.
She thought I was kind of kidding around. I was just keeping it light until I could really get to it. There was a real answer in the song, and I think the audience seemed to really appreciate that this person on her birthday who actually had a question got an answer.
You know, most other shows, the musician is the star, the singer is the star. In this show, it's not the case. I mean, you know, from my perspective, thankfully, like it's the real star of the show is the person having the guts to ask the question, and the audience. So long as the question isn't like kind of mocking or bullshit. Then can I say? I'll say it differently. Mocking or
You can say bullshit. That's fine.
or caca. Then the audience is with them, and they're really rooting for them. They become the star.
And whether you believe this really works, whether there are actually some synergy happening, or whether you just think it's a great excuse to hear songs, what we have found is that when people come up to this stage asking real questions, and this is some of what I'm tasked with, give them a real answer. But when people come up with a question that they thought would be funny on a piece of paper, the Oracle has a way of kind of giving as good as he or she gets, and it's my job to drive that home. So if I give somebody a hard time on stage, I would never do that unless I knew that they came up on stage knowing that they didn't really need an answer.
Is there such thing as a bad question for this show?
Well,
questions that a person never really wanted the answer to, or questions that we call meta, like questions about the show to be answered by the show. Those tend to not...
Will I get a good answer? It goes nowhere.
Although I like the one today about what happened to Jim's big hit.
Yeah, that's right. Some of them come out in the poetry at the end. And those are fine. Like, so why comes up in the, you know, in question poetry at the end. And that can be used. But, you know, if the person up on stage isn't asking a question that's relevant to them, the audience kind of has nothing to be interested in. And that's really where it falls apart. Because we're curious about people. We want to know about people. So if you're actually asking an honest question, that's much more interesting than, well, it's 8 times 11.
But you get that in improv too. When you ask for a suggestion, you never know what you're going to get.
Absolutely. And I have an improv background, so I have an improv background and a therapy or psychology background. And I don't know which one I use more often up there, but the funny always comes out of listening, which is very much the case in all improv, is listening to the song, listening to what the person said, and listening how those two things meet. You know, I get razzed when I throw a pun out there, and I go for that once or twice a show. I'm looking to get the groaner, you know, but in general, what people really enjoy and laugh at most is a truth revealed in an unexpected way. So I don't know. I mean, you know, I think we're a funny show, but we'd be okay if we had a show that wasn't that funny, but everybody thought, wow, that was amazing, the way the music and the questions all came together.
Yeah, well, it's surprising how often it works. Honestly, it shouldn't work, but and it's not a question of accuracy. It's just you know, it's entertainment. It ends up there's a dramatic element in every kind of pairing between question.
Well, and I can't get my kids to do what I ask them to do or tell them to do. So it scares me that me interpreting a song might actually make somebody go make a decision. So, you know, like if I could wear a disclaimer on stage that says, you know, contents contain only 1% accuracy, I would, but I do think people sometimes walk off the stage having at least asked the question out loud, and sometimes there are actually questions that they need to ask out loud before they'll actually start working through their own answers.
It's possible, but although, you know, if you really wanted to get a parakeet,
just buy a parakeet.
Yeah, right. You're going to get a parakeet anyway. Right.
Yeah. Although the Oracle was definitely anti-parakeet.
Bad idea.
He's anti-lorikeet. I shouldn't say he. We don't know whether the Oracle's a guy.
There was a macaw. You brought up a macaw.
He brought up the macaw. Anyway, I think we're way off track at that point.
Well, your music is particularly well suited for something like this because you mentioned you do have a sense of humor on purpose, which is something that even some funny music doesn't have. There's even in the serious songs, there's an underlying sense of humor quite often.
Me.
Don't get mad.
I completely misinterpreted
Yes.
every song.
Well, isn't one of my favorite questions to ask you is this song ironic? He gets these lyrics and I'm like, so either you meant it or you didn't, and he always goes, a little bit of both. Casts me adrift.
Well, it's hard. It's actually surprisingly hard when you ask me a question about a song in the middle of an interpretation because it's really, I usually have an answer like prepared and I have nothing. I don't know how you do what you do, honestly.
How much of this was a desire to do something interactive, to do something that wasn't just at the audience, to sort of include them?
Well, for me, it's an entertaining night because I don't have to get up there and say like, here's another song I wrote, here's a song that I wrote. That's another song, and now here's another song that I wrote. After a while, the concert starts to feel a little like, let me tell you more about myself, And this show is not about me, and it's not so much about the band. We get to participate. But it's not about us anymore because the songs are aimed at kind of the desires and needs of another person. That's much more interesting than just kind of going back over the same stuff.
Well, has it shown you anything about your songs that surprised you? Like something that was written essentially, as a lot of songs are, about the person who wrote it, having that reflected in such a sort of literal, concrete manner.
Yeah, well, speaking of concrete, actually, that song tonight, it was great to hear it in regard to that other question or the song about the humbuckers, the I Love Everybody, kind of seeing it, because actually, as it turns out, that was a music producer who was asking the question, and a musician.
Right.
I think we should probably break for a second because the next band, you got to get some stuff in the ball.
Okay, I'm almost done. I just have a couple more quick questions about. So there's that interactivity is extending to the new album. I see on your website you're having people send in lines that you build a song with. Is that something that came from the show, wanting to sort of keep
Well, for
interacting?
a while we've been involving people writing stuff down on napkins during the show and then throwing that together as a song at the end. But we haven't done that in the studio yet. So this is what we're going to try and do in the studio is try and do something improvisational that's built on what people are sending in.
And when is the next time the show will be up, and how much longer is it running?
We know for sure that we're here October 28th, and then again in November. I believe I want to say it's the 18th. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving. Is that correct?
November what?
I'm sorry, December 6th, the week after.
December 2nd.
December 2nd.
And nothing in November?
Anyway, yeah, so December 2nd, and we've got October 28th. I think once a month feels great for us because I start to miss it. I miss the interaction, and you know what, going back to what you were doing, when you did the napkin poetry, the question poetry, what I like best about it is the one time a night that I don't have to listen for content, I can just enjoy it.
Oh, right, yeah, it gives you a break.
Yeah, right. Because I find myself listening. I'm a fan of the music, and so I'll find myself kind of listening to it and just go, "All right, I'm supposed to be taking notes." Luckily, one guy took notes for me tonight.
And what's the best place for people to look online to find out more about the show?
Two sites, bigego.com for a band, and theegoandtheoracle.com. And they link together, so.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
you.